The lights of the America's Got Talent stage have seen thousands of hopefuls walk out with dreams in their eyes, but on this particular night, something felt different the moment the contestant stepped forward. He didn't look like the typical Elvis Presley impersonator that audiences had grown used to over the years. He was Filipino, modest in appearance, calm but visibly nervous, standing under the weight of a legendary name and an even heavier expectation. When he introduced himself and mentioned Elvis, there was a subtle shift in the room. A few raised eyebrows, a half-smile from the judges, and a familiar sense of skepticism settled in. Simon Cowell, known for his brutally honest opinions and deep knowledge of music history, leaned back slightly, arms crossed, as if preparing himself for disappointment. The audience murmured softly, not out of disrespect, but curiosity. Elvis Presley is not just a singer, he is an icon deeply tied to American culture. Covering Elvis on an American stage, especially one as massive as AGT, is risky for anyone, let alone someone from another country. Many contestants before him had tried and failed, delivering performances that felt more like karaoke than tribute. This singer, however, carried himself with a quiet confidence that suggested he wasn't there to imitate, but to honor. He didn't overdo the hair, the jumpsuit, or the exaggerated swagger. He simply stood there, microphone in hand, breathing slowly, waiting for the music to begin. When the first notes played, the room fell into an attentive silence. The opening line came out smooth, controlled, and unexpectedly authentic. It wasn't just the tone that surprised everyone, it was the emotion behind it. His voice carried a warmth and depth that instantly commanded attention. Instead of forcing an Elvis impression, he allowed his own identity to shine through, blending the classic style with his natural vocal color. Within seconds, the audience reaction shifted from polite interest to genuine engagement. Heads nodded, eyes widened. A few people leaned forward in their seats, sensing that this audition might be something special. Simon Cowell's expression began to change almost immediately. The skeptical look softened, replaced by focus. He wasn't smiling yet, but he was listening, truly listening, which for Simon is a significant sign of respect. Heidi Klum's eyes lit up as she turned slightly toward Simon, as if silently saying, "Are you hearing this?" Sofia Vergara's face reflected surprise mixed with delight, and Howie Mandel sat unusually still, absorbing every note. The singer's control was impressive, but what truly set him apart was his ability to tell a story through the song. Every lyric felt intentional, every pause meaningful. As the performance built, the singer let his voice open up just enough to showcase power without losing control. The subtle vibrato, the phrasing, the way he held certain notes just a fraction longer than expected, all demonstrated a deep understanding of the music. This wasn't a gimmick or a novelty act. This was a serious vocalist delivering a heartfelt performance. The audience responded instinctively, some clapping softly in rhythm, others visibly emotional. A few people could be seen wiping away tears, moved by the sincerity pouring from the stage. What made the moment even more powerful was the contrast between expectation and reality. Many people walked into this audition assuming they knew how it would go. A Filipino singer doing Elvis on AGT sounded, on paper, like something that might struggle to stand out. Yet here he was, defying every assumption with grace and authenticity. He didn't try to compete with Elvis. He respected him, and that respect translated into a performance that felt honest, rather than forced. As the song reached its climax, the singer closed his eyes briefly, allowing himself to fully connect with the music. His voice soared, but never crossed into excess. It was controlled passion, the kind that comes from years of practice and a deep emotional connection to the art. The band followed him perfectly, giving space where needed and swelling at just the right moments. The AGT stage, often filled with spectacle and noise, felt intimate for those few minutes, as if the entire theater had been transformed into a small, soulful venue. When the final note faded, there was a brief moment of silence, the kind that happens when people need a second to process what they've just witnessed. Then the audience erupted. The applause was loud, sustained, and filled with genuine appreciation. People stood to their feet, cheering not just because it was expected, but because they were truly moved. The singer looked overwhelmed, placing a hand over his heart, visibly emotional as he absorbed the reaction. Simon Cowell stood up slowly, something he doesn't do lightly. The look on his face was no longer skeptical or guarded, it was impressed. He waited for the applause to die down before speaking, still watching the contestant closely. When Simon finally spoke, his words carried weight. He admitted that he had doubts the moment Elvis was mentioned, acknowledging how difficult it is to do justice to such a legendary artist. But he made it clear that this performance had changed his mind completely. He praised the singer's authenticity, his restraint, and most importantly, his respect for the song. Simon's comment that stood out the most was when he said he forgot where the singer was from and simply heard a great vocalist. For a judge who was often accused of being harsh or dismissive, this was high praise. It wasn't about nationality or novelty, it was about talent. Heidi followed by expressing how emotional the performance made her feel, noting that it felt genuine rather than rehearsed. Sophia spoke about the surprise factor, admitting she did not expect such depth and control. Howie added that this was one of those auditions that remind people why they watch the show in the first place. The singer listened quietly, nodding respectfully, clearly trying to hold back tears. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled slightly as he shared how much Elvis meant to him growing up and how music had been a bridge between cultures in his life. He talked about listening to American music in the Philippines, dreaming one day of singing on a stage like this. His story resonated deeply with the audience, reinforcing the idea that music truly has no borders. What made this audition especially memorable was not just the quality of the performance, but what it represented. It was a reminder that talent can come from anywhere and that cultural boundaries dissolve when artistry is sincere. In a show often dominated by spectacle, this moment stood out for its simplicity and emotional truth. A man, a microphone, and a song were enough to captivate millions. As the judges cast their votes, the outcome felt inevitable. Yes after yes lit up the board, each one met with cheers from the crowd. The singer's reaction was pure joy and disbelief, hands shaking as he thanked the judges and the audience repeatedly. Walking off the stage, he looked lighter, as if a lifelong dream had finally been validated. In the days that followed, clips of the audition spread rapidly across social media. Viewers from all over the world shared their reactions, many echoing the judges' surprise and admiration. Comments poured in praising not only the voice, but the humility and respect shown toward the music. Filipino fans expressed pride, while Elvis fans appreciated the fresh yet faithful interpretation. The performance became a talking point, a reminder that AGT can still deliver moments of genuine magic. Simon Cowell's reaction, in particular, became a highlight. Known for his high standards and occasional bluntness, his visible shift from doubt to admiration was something audiences rarely see. It underscored how powerful the audition truly was. When someone like Simon is genuinely moved, it speaks volumes about the level of talent on display. This audition also sparked conversations about representation and global influence in music. Elvis Presley, an American legend, being honored so beautifully by a Filipino singer on an American stage, symbolized the universal reach of music. It showed how songs can travel across oceans, languages, and cultures, finding new life in voices that carry different stories but share the same passion. As the season continued, fans eagerly awaited the singer's next performance, curious to see what else he would bring to the stage. But regardless of how far he would go in the competition, that first audition had already cemented his place in AGT history. It was one of those rare moments that viewers remember long after the episode ends, replaying it not just for the vocals, but for the feeling it created. The night a Filipino singer stepped onto the AGT stage and sang Elvis became more than just an audition. It became a moment of connection, surprise, and shared emotion. It reminded everyone watching, including Simon Cowell, that great music doesn't belong to one country or one era. It belongs to those brave enough to sing it with honesty and heart.